But anyway, yeah, let's take a look, guys. The majority report. I think they're still trying to avoid addressing the situation head on. So it's up to the good IMers and the callers to get them to talk about it, as another, I think, IMer did in this episode, forcing them to talk about this. They're like, we don't want to talk about it. Stop making us talk about this. And every single member of their audience is like, how about another question about TYT? So I do feel kind of bad, but I also think that at this point, Emma and Matt have a lot to get off their chest. They feel like they have to address it, increasingly so. So let's take a look.
Sam's daddy says, I have a theory about TYT's recent swerve to the right. I think they are going on the theory that if you can't beat them, join them, but they are still on our side. We as progressives don't have the capital we need to get our voices heard. Well, they have to play their stupid game spreading this shit, but we'll take that money to grow the progressive movement. Or maybe I'm naive.
Nope, you're naive.
Look, so
I'm sorry, you take $20 million from a 900 millionaire and then it doesn't pay any dividends, and all of a sudden you're lashing out. It's very simple what's going on, and it's unprincipled and disgusting.
Well, I mean, look, I think that when you take that money and if they were to say have given people big raises, or say voluntarily recognize a union without hiring a union busting a law firm allegedly, because really,
probably the new stakeholder didn't really like the union idea. I don't know. I
think it's partly that I would imagine, but also partly the allegation, and you guys can read it. There was a Politico story about it in 2018. And also I would say that the NLRB complaint is public if people want to look it up, but they ended up having to recognize.
And we've put that all up on air for everybody to see. Gavin and I have independently, validated that that's all true. And they did hire a union busting law firm.
As the union after a long legal fight, but I know firsthand that there were efforts to suppress it. There are allegations of retaliatory firings. Or maybe not firsthand, I should say secondhand, but I've heard it.
All well documented by our friend Hank Thompson, who has compiled boatloads of evidence into an easy to consume documentary called Tell the Truth, Cenk. He worked for Cenk for a long time. He was paid horrible wages also, in just complete congruity with what Hassan revealed. I think they said that he was paid like $18.25 as an editor in California, which is very skilled work. It's also work that's typically dominated by union folks.
From multiple people, specifically about the crew who were basically being allegedly denied overtime pay. So people can look up the NLRB complaint or whatever is already public with Politico and the other outlets that source their material and backed it up. And, for me, I think that not voluntarily recognizing a union as a supposed progressive company doesn't speak too highly about the sincerity of those values. But at the end of the day, they're moving away from leftism, progressivism, even centrism altogether, it appears. At the very least, the emphasis has been about how we need to cozy up to the populist right or whatever.
And it was the same way he apologized for the Caruso endorsement, but he endorsed Caruso the exact same way he's doing this whole I'm going on PBD and pandering to Trump voters thing that he's doing now. It's pandering, but in a way that, oh, surprise, it's really rich guys and really powerful people who are going to benefit. Maybe that's what we need instead of these corporatist Democrats.
We had, honestly, because we're being accused of attacking them all the time, we had I had not spoken publicly about my feelings about their union busting.
Okay, guys, and I'm going to give Gavin some flowers here really quickly. I don't know this to be 100% true. Obviously, we're not a fly on the wall. We don't live in anybody's brain. We're on our own island over here in Kansas City. And while sometimes little birdies message us, for the most part, we live, totally separate from all of our colleagues in this space. But Gavin gave an impassioned plea on our last big broadcast where he was like, guys, I know you feel like you're taking the high road, not going after TYT, but you went after Jimmy Dore and he came from TYT. You guys went after Dave Rubin really hard and he came from TYT. Like, what is the difference about Anna Kasparian now? Like, do you not still have that same principle that when people abandon and betray the left, we have to lampoon them and, kind of expose the hollowness and the greed behind them? And I think that potentially that sentiment, whether it came directly from Gavin or from somebody else who made that exact same case, I think it reached the people at the Majority Report, because when you hear from Emma, she really just spills the beans. And I want to just say that we're like, she doesn't give a what we think, I would imagine, but we're proud of her, dude. Like, I know it was hard for her to come out and do this. She's a very respectful person that keeps to herself. She's not a loudmouth like me. She's not just going to come out swinging. She was like, you know what? I'm going to turn the other cheek. I have a great job at the Majority Report. I'm going to do what I can do to spread positive, good, progressive coverage. But it was time to take the gloves off. It was time to say, you know what, guys? You. You're not allowed to say this nasty shit about me and Sam and my new job, and you're also not allowed to go on a right-wing pivot without being called out for it.
Yep, 100%. Super proud of Emma, and I do know that this was really hard for her personally to have to talk about this, to have to keep discussing it. It's a personal issue. It's dealing with people that she knew and at one point really respected. So yeah, much respect.
Spoken privately to a lot of people before, and I appreciate all the kind words that I got, and some people gave me some information I didn't know actually last night about it. So just because I didn't want to start beef, and we get IMs about things. We tried to respond in the best way that we could. And then recently we've been playing that funny sound drop just because we didn't.
It's shameful to have sold a progressive show studio to a crypto casino, regardless of who's
Peter
the
Thiel's
investor
involvement.
in it.
Yeah, it's a overseas betting market that isn't even legally allowed in the United States. And to sell the naming rights of a progressive media company to a corporation, I would call that corporate media. I don't know about you.
When we made the Peacock thing, that was to get a new employee, like pay employees. It wasn't this sort of thing where we're trying to start a whole bunch of properties that we own. So the guy who had $900 million and noticed that we had a lot of paying members and thought that was a good business opportunity, got his stake involved.
And at the end of the day, I'm now in a union. I am in SAG-AFTRA. So which is because the Majority Report's a SAG-AFTRA signatory. So I joined that, sometime this year. Sam's a part of that union as well. And I'm in favor of free and fair organizing without the employer doing anything but voluntarily recognizing the unions. Definitely not hiring a union busting law firm on that front, but like,
I mean, it's our size. Like we've talked about unionizing generally before, and if we were TYT size, we would have had a union by now.
And so all I'll say here is
Zach also tried to start a Vanguard union. I swiftly squashed it.
Yeah, you know what? It was crazy. And Gavin's not a violent guy, but he picked up the nearest sharp object and he said, "Do you like your scrotum?" And I was like, "Holy shit, dude! I was just kidding. There's only two of us. There's no need to unionize." No, I'm kidding. But it was just something primal that came out. I think it was all the hours of listening to Cenk Uygur.
Someday Zach will spill the tea on the notorious abuses going on behind the scenes at the Vanguard.
Gavin runs a real tight ship.
It's like,
not that they don't have one, but that like you said, the NLRB.
Right. I got off track. It was all to say that basically we held off on a lot of things that I think were worthy of criticism just because we didn't, because of my past personal relationships. And I would say Anna was a friend to me. I truly loved her as a friend. And I told her that. So it's very sad. But the reality is that my principles in this business about calling out people who are doing the why I left the left shtick to appeal to the right outweighs any personal relationships I'm going to make in this space. So,
and I'm really like I said, proud to see that Emma has arrived there. I totally understand why it took not just Emma but a lot of Anna's old colleagues a while. When you know someone personally, guys, it's just harder to. I don't even want to say be honest, but to see clearly. Like, I don't think Emma was ever being dishonest. I don't think that, Anna's former colleagues were ever being dishonest, but it is true. When you know someone, it can sometimes be hard to see clearly what's happening because your idea of that person is fogged by the positive connotations that you associate with them. Right. So, that's a big thing. And I think that if you go back and watch, what was it, that leftist mafia episode? When Olay finally said, "Bro, all right, this is enough. Like, we're not going to coddle the white lady."
Shout out to Olay. I mean,
seriously,
she took so much shit.
She took so much shit. But for
only
real,
we were there for her, by the way.
Only us, and I think that it was literally you, me, and Olay. That, like, out of everyone on the left, it was in progressive YouTube media. We were like half the size of a channel at that point, tiny. But I think that it was the three of us who were the only ones that were actually mean, I guess you could call it that.
Hypercritical,
fair. I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, we were aggressive. I'm
aggressive with everyone.
Exactly. I'm not denying that. I'm not criticizing us. I'm just saying that, like, Anna acts like everyone took that tone. Anna wants to act like from the very beginning, from the second she hit send on the birthing person tweet or whatever the hell it was, that everyone immediately just, the claws came out. Everyone started acting like us, when in reality, that's not true. The only people that said that were us and Olay, because again, we don't know Anna. We don't give a fuck about this woman. I'm sorry, but to me, she's just some Karen. She's just some fucking annoying ass Karen that stands for a lot of positions that I hate and represents something that I think needs to be defeated.
Might as well be Tommy Lauren or
might as well be.
Candace Owens.
Yeah, exactly. I really don't care, and that's even as someone who used to watch TYT. I don't really give a fuck. But I do understand that for people like Emma Vigeland, for people like David Dole and Mike Figueiredo, perhaps people that really, had a relationship with Anna Kasparian. Yeah, I get it. They wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, and they did for a long time. As I said, go back and watch that Leftist Mafia episode. Every single person on that panel, except for Olay, said, "Hey guys, calm down. Anna's an ally, and she's with us, and she's on our team, and we need to be nice about this, and we need to be respectful, and we need to hash it out, and all the yada 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 yada." Everything that Anna Kasparian pretends that the left has done the opposite of from day one, right? But here Emma is still, a year later, and she's still being nice. She's being honest as hell, for sure, but she's still being way nicer and way less unhinged than Anna Kasparian is on any given Young Turks episode.
Or than Anna was to Emma Vigeland,
Yep.
saying that she thought, totally misrepresenting her coverage.
With that said, since this audience is so interested in Dave Rubin and how much we ruthlessly mocked his arc of leaving the left from TYT, which Anna...
with Anna in the chair you're sitting in now at one point on the Michael Brooks show.
Laughing about it. I laughed about it with her. She laughed about it on air. We mocked this a lot. And in fact, Piers Morgan will play some of that mockery as well.
She also pointed out that she was so grateful to Michael Brooks for being able to viciously go after Dave Rubin in a way that she felt that she couldn't because she'd been his former colleague.
Mm-hmm.
To clarify things for folks, this is her explanation for her recent pivot.
But what people have said is they said you were quite outspoken. I'll play it to you. This is what you said when Dave Rubin pivoted. Let's have a look.
There has been this prevalence of prominent figures who identify as the left, right, or on the left, who then later start to, cozy up to right-wing figures, and then it turns out that they completely move to the right wing because they're essentially paid to do it. They're used as tools by the right wing to essentially spew right-wing talking points while purporting to still be on the left. In fact, Dave Rubin's a great example of that. Dave Rubin used to work with us. He identified as someone on the left.
Dave,
yeah, go ahead.
Forgive me, Anna. Dave Rubin made a video for PragerU, Why I Left the Left.
Oh, I know.
He does not, in fact, state to the world that he's still on the left. I don't know who you have in mind.
That's what Anna does. That's what you do, Anna. You lie and state to the world that you're still on the left because you don't have the balls to go mask off Karen.
So I can only address the one name that you gave.
So, have you pulled a Rubin, as some people suggest?
I'm still pretty left-wing, and I'm still working at the exact same place. Look, I don't know. Maybe I was wrong about Dave Rubin, but I just felt that he, first of all, after he left TYT, he did lie about us, and that bothered me because we were still friends, and I didn't understand what was going on, so I was discombobulated about
And this just proves that it's all the politics of personal grievances and who's nice to her.
what was happening with Dave after he left TYT. He did leave on good terms, so it was weird. And, he kept saying that he was this classical liberal, but had trouble defining what that meant and had trouble reinforcing or at least backing up some of the claims that he was making about, his newfound identity. So, look,
that's hilarious in retrospect too, because at least Dave Rubin did say all right, I'm a classical liberal. This is what it means. This is what the technical historical definition of liberal is. Yada, all this bullshit. He actually went into great depth to outline his new identity and to explain and define it. Anna, on the other hand, wrote one Substack piece called "You're Right, I Have Left the Left" or something.
You're right, I've changed.
You're right, I've changed. And then titled it "Now I'm Unaligned," which again means nothing. It literally means nothing. You can't, what I'm unaligned. Okay, then get the fuck out of political commentary. What the fuck? then why would anyone listen to you? Oh, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Maybe these guys are right about some things, and maybe these people are right about some things, and maybe if we just moderated, if we just met in the middle, the left, the right, all these extremists, and let's just moderate. Like, it's a meaningless fucking drivel. And again, to act like Dave Rubin didn't adequately define his new ideology is even funnier, knowing the complete lack of a definition attached to Anna's new ideology.
Live and let live. Dave is doing his thing. I did feel that his pivot was strange, but maybe it was sincere. Who knows?
Well, it's interesting. Somebody accused me of being
a phone hacking liar per a court in the UK, which said that, oh yeah, Piers Morgan saying he didn't know about all the journalists that worked under him, hacking into people's voicemails for information that they could put into stories. Yeah, people say things about Piers too. Oh, great company Anna's keeping lately.
Well, I mean, she's hanging out with Glenn Beck. She's hanging out with Piers Morgan and other right-wingers and doing a lot of interviews. It is interesting, though, that, Cenk's going on PBD and all that kind of thing. It is interesting that still no response to Sam Cedar's both private request to have a conversation about this on air on either TYT or on the Majority Report. If they feel more comfortable with it being on their platform, they can do that there. So Sam asked that of Cenk in the summer, and then publicly, I guess, 2 weeks or so, basically said we can talk about this in a conversation. No response, but very eager to go to Glenn Beck's studio and have a conversation themselves. So I think
they are taking the what they have been credited for through years of good work with a lot of good people. They are packaging up that for the marketplace and advertising it through picking a lot of fights. They've been doing this for a long time. We, 2 years ago, put a video up. The original title of that video was Anna Kasparian is not transphobic, where we tried to talk about the birthing person bullshit in a way that was constructive and could kind of maybe lead in a proper direction. She didn't listen to any of that, and instead got mad that somebody said that we were treating her with kid gloves. Because the truth was, we have been. For my entire career here at Majority Report, it has been a tongue-holding exercise for like Wolfpack, fucking harebrained. How many packs are we going to start to get money in the...
Yeah, dude. And Matt also, shout out to Matt, because he went on a tear on Twitter the other night after Emma got, I don't know. Smeared. Yeah, that's the perfect way to put it, by Anna Kasparian, and just like relentlessly attacked. And he was like, oh, you want to play that game? And so he published all the money they've been giving Brianna Wu. They've talked. He put out one really damning screenshot that showed that they'd raised like something like $80,000, no, $200,000 or something like that for the Rebel Pack or whichever one. And then they've given $2,900 to actual candidates, and they've given like $20,000 to Brianna Wu. It's absolutely nuts. The mismanagement of funds. And you realize it's all just racketeering. You realize that it's all just laundering money and keeping the people close to them fed. And it's not like Brianna Wu needed the money. How many actual on the ground progressive activists could have used that 18 grand so much more than Brianna, or 24 grand or whatever it was, so much more than Brianna Wu, who had 4 Porsches, has a rich husband, all this privilege, but yet you have to let go real reporters from TYT because you can't afford to pay them. What kind of lunacy is that? You realize it was never about that. It was all about just cuddling up and being part of the establishment.
Yep. And that's also true. Also, something else that I forget who it was, but someone brought this up on Twitter, maybe even in our own comment section, I forget, but they mentioned like they're now calling their studio the Poly Market Studio. But this commenter was remembering when TYT raised money from their audience to build that studio and said, hey guys, let's build a studio together. This will be the people's studio or whatever. And now they're literally just calling it Poly Market Studio after auctioning it off to the highest bidder. It's truly disgusting. It's comical. But yeah, let's
wait really quickly, Gavin, just to underscore that point for everyone. Gavin's not making this up. Oh, here, let me put it in a different window so I can share it for you guys. This is pretty crazy. Young Turks raised $402,950 for a new studio. Guys, you bought the Poly Market Studio. You guys put the money in. You guys fronted it for Cenk. You bought him a luxury studio. The Young Turks needed a new studio, so $3,672 of the online and sometimes cable television newscast supporters contributed a cumulative $402,950. The popular internet news network, headlined by Cenk Uygur and Kasparian, and in possession of over 1.3 million YouTube subscribers and 1.2 billion YouTube views, took an Indiegogo in early October 2013 to start soliciting contributions for new digs. And let's see if we can pull up that actual Indiegogo over here. TYT, let's build it together. The Young Turks. Oh my goodness, Gavin. Great memory, and thank you to that chatter.
For my entire career here at Majority Report, it has been a tongue-holding exercise for like Wolfpack, fucking harebrained. How many packs are we going to start to get money in the money out of politics? We have been.
How about one that pays Brianna Wu 5 figures for
deny a genocide
to post on Twitter?
If you think we're mean, you need to understand that actually that has been charitable. So
it has been based on what I have asked for, really, in part because of and because of my personal feelings about the situation and because of how sad it made me. I'm not somebody. Trust me, you can ask my exes. I didn't break up with a lot of people. I stayed in way too many relationships for way too long because I tried to make things work for quite a while. That's not what happened here. So
also, I just think that's a really wholesome thing from Emma right there. She's like clearly somebody who believes in other people, right? Like, what's the translation of that? That's not like really self-deprecating, right? It means that she believes in the best in people. It means that she wants to have faith in the people around her to be good. That's what leads people to progressive politics, right? And the level of authenticity, I think, is evidenced right here by what Emma just said, even in her own personal life, right? Whereas then you look at Kasparian, and she's so angry, and she's so bitter and resentful, right? She's not coming at this with the politics of love, right? And one of the things that you guys might think is cringy, but needs to be done, progressives have to emphasize that we are the people who have a politics of love. We have the politics of community. We have the politics of neighborliness, right? That's one of the things Gavin and I really appreciated about Tim Walz, was he was like, guys, this isn't socialism so much as it's neighborliness, right? Like, Gavin and I might support socialism, but it's true, feeding kids at school, that doesn't mean you live in a socialist society. That just means you're a good neighbor, right? Let's start there. Let's break bread over that, common ground. So anyway, I just think if you're looking for any other reason to be like, who do I have faith in? Who do I believe is telling the truth? Emma right here is super sincere.
And also, she's probably one of the least narcissistic people in media. That's something I never realized before we got into this scene, but it's rife with narcissists, guys. Like, almost everyone in this fucking industry is a piece of shit. They're in it for themselves. They don't have any actual core ideology or principles. All they care about is growing. We have seen this over and over and over again with channels that we gave the benefit of the doubt, with commentators that we tried to befriend in good faith and say, hey, let's, be in community together, assuming naively that everyone was like us. Whew! Did we have something coming? We learned a lot, guys. Here we are 4 years later, and I can say without a doubt that Emma Vigeland is easily one of the least, she's not at all narcissistic, but she's actually genuinely a good person. She's a nice person. She cares. She's not just in it for herself or to build her brand.
For us, I have plenty of wonderful friends in my personal life. I know you do as well, Matt. I don't need to put my personal relationships ahead of my professional integrity.
It's kind of inappropriate to do so.
Even though in terms of like closeness, there are very few people in this field that I felt as close to as her. And at one point, I would say she was my best friend in this industry. But I have to, cut bait at this point, because she also made an accusation that I heard, that I called her sexual assault titillating, which, if I were to be charitable, I'd say she was listening to one of those like stupid crime right-wing podcasts that she seems to be a fan of these days, and they cut it up in a way that was misleading, or she's just lying about me, because I would never, ever, ever do that. My case has always been that, like, some of these tough on crime narratives, specifically when a white woman is the subject of harm, are titillating to some people on the right who like to imagine themselves as white knights saving white women from the hordes of black poor people and unhoused folks in this city.
And again, you're being very kind, because we all know, as part of this business, why Steven Crowder starts his show with videos of young black teenagers assaulting elderly women. right? Like, we know what this is. And to say that actually what is being titillating is the act caught itself and not what this sort of poverty porn and violence porn is doing politically, you are fucking stupid. And you should not be in this business if you cannot take that for what it is. These that you are stoking crime narratives, and people should watch the Jose Not a J video of TYT pushing Beverly. If you can maybe pull that up, I want to put it on screen. They keep trying to distract from the real issues and are making the audience that is loyal to them dumber. The thing about Peter Thiel is not that Peter Thiel's a polymarket. It's because.
And that's another betrayal, by the way. That's another betrayal that I think, the way Matt phrased it kind of made it click for me. But there are a lot of probably good people, a lot of good progressives that don't watch a lot of news content out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people aren't Zach and I. They don't obsess over this shit. No, they want to get their news from 1 or 2 channels that they trust because they don't have that much fucking time and that much energy to be consuming this shit. So, yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of good people out there that have become loyal to Cenk and Anna and that have decided that that's a news source that they enjoy and that they trust. And now Matt's 100% right. Cenk and Anna are making those people dumber. Those loyal viewers, they're making them dumber. They're filling their heads with propaganda. Isn't that disgusting? Just so they can attempt to get a little bit of extra clout and a little bit of extra money from some of the dumbest individuals in this country.
Of you promoting betting. The thing with this Jose
and crypto.
The thing with Venezuela, the Venezuela gangs and the slum in Colorado is not that gang activity happens in slums. It's that the neglect that has led to those conditions, which, by the way, there were gangs that weren't Venezuelan in those slums before that, but that wasn't a news story, because what is a news story for this is we want to stoke fear of immigrants. So yes, this is the video that everyone should watch, and TYT can keep pretending that it's, oh, they found a gang member in a slum, as if that's vindicating of this. They took a line, hook, line, and sinker from a law firm representing a slumlord to point to immigrants as the problem and not the overall conditions that lead to anything, any sort of gang activity, any sort of violence in places like this that is unaddressed. And it cannot be addressed simply by cops and border patrol. But here's the video. This is Jose, how the Young Turks pushed a right-wing propaganda story. And it would be nice if our communicators could actually address one of these issues directly instead of saying, oh, well, she used Facebook.
Well, it's funny because they actually did address this directly, Matt, and the argument you didn't hear was they arrested another immigrant in New York City. I'm right. This immigrant, probably criminal gang member, was in Aurora, Colorado, and then what business would he have in New York City? Huh? He got arrested there. One of the same similar gang members, potentially. At least that's what...
Well, no one denies that the gang exists. That's the funny thing. They just deny that they took over fucking apartment complexes in Aurora, which was total BS, invented by a slumlord to get himself off the hook for criminal behavior as far as the way he treated his tenants. So Anna's literally now just pointing to pieces of proof of this gang's existence as if it validates her. She's like, oh, see, it does. Venezuela is a country and it does have gangs, and a few of them are in America. I'm right. Into the story. And here's a link to like some fake news site that I hope you don't actually click. And I'm just going to assume that you believe me. Whoop, whoop. Like, that's where we're at.
Watchdog Freedom Eagle is pointing out that the liberal media won't pay attention to this crazy story.
And then she'll talk about how one of the reasons why she left the left is because she didn't used to do her due diligence journalistically. And she feels so bad about all the bullshit she used to spread as a leftist and before she did her research. Oh my God, guys, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Look, I don't care about, Silly and Billy or whoever they are, right?